Narungga.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker. I rise, as speakers before me have done so, to speak on this important and in many ways groundbreaking bill to ban single-use plastics distribution and supply in this state. And in doing so, I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the Minister for Environment and the Member for Black for the leadership he has shown over the past 2 years on this topic, and his considerable dedication to reaching this stage of legislative implementation after well-managed and considerable business, industry and community consultation. This important preparation and consultation has occurred via, to list the incidences in order, the release of a single-use plastics discussion paper back in January 2019, the release of the Next Steps paper last July, the work that commenced last September by the appointed task force with its diverse representation involving environmental groups, business representatives, the hospitality industry as well as disability advocates, and then the setting up of the trial plastic-free precincts. Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, this important work was thoroughly and methodically done and has ensured all impacts of this legislation on businesses and community have been explored prior to the introduction to this place, which hopefully will result in smooth passage into law and, most importantly, provide community and business confidence during the transition period ahead of us as we put this new legislation into practice. We are aware that other jurisdictions in our nation and around the world are watching how we have got to this point, and it is with great pride that I support the bill before us today. South Australia is again leading the nation in this work, just as it was back in 1977 when the Liberal government in this state introduced the now globally recognised container deposit scheme, and just as it was on 4 May 2009 when South Australia became the first state or territory in the country to ban plastic bags at the supermarket checkout. We were leading the way then, and we are continuing to make important decisions to protect our environment today. When this legislation was first mooted in that early 2019 discussion paper released by the Minister that proposed government intervention on single-use plastics, it was unclear how the community and business would react. But importantly, it was received with overwhelming support from community, industry, local government, business and interest groups, spurring the Minister on to progress and implement the valuable, groundbreaking legislation before us as we speak. For me personally, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, the recognition of this important work that was underway hit home in the Narungga electorate office in July 2019 when two passionate advocates against the use of plastic straws and other single-use plastics visited me. They were 10-year-old Jasmine Secker and 8-year-old Kiralee Secker from Kadina, who had persuaded their mum to drive them on the 100-kilometre round trip to my office in Maitland to see me to talk about the importance of removing plastic straws from the world. They implored me quite persuasively on the need for locals and businesses to stop using plastic straws because of the harm they were doing to animals on land and at sea. They particularly wanted to tell me how plastic doesn't ever break down, that every plastic straw takes 600 years to break down, and when found by birds or marine life, they can be weapons to kill, and to please stop South Australians from using them. These two young people campaigned across the electorate, had posters printed, joined the national Straw No More campaign, went to childcare centres to talk to parents and participated in Plastic Free July campaign led by the Plastic Free Foundation. They told me how their family had stopped using plastic straws in 2018 and that they now also no longer used plastic bags or plastic water bottles and coffee cups. And I'll note at this junction, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, that one can no longer even visit the Kadina Hotel and get a plastic straw in their Coca-Cola. That's how persuasive these two advocates have been in our electorate. They wanted to tell me that if I have used a plastic straw, it is still out there somewhere, on the ground, in the sea or in a storm drain, or it could have killed an animal. It could have been eaten by a sea animal or bird thinking it was food. It was inspiring to see such young advocates leading the way in their community on an issue clearly close to their heart. And I congratulated Jasmine and Kiralee then, and I do so today in this space, on their determination to make a difference and to educate their patch of the world against single-use plastics and specifically plastic straws. As Straw No More local ambassadors, they continue to be inspired by the broader Straw No More movement and the mantra on its website, its homepage that informs, and I quote, "Everyday humans use more than 500 million straws. If you line these up end to end, they would wrap around the planet Earth 4 times every single day." Clean Up Australia has a similar message, that Australians use about 100 million straws every day, or 3.5 billion a year. and that most are used just once for around 15 to 30 minutes, after which they are thrown away. Clean Up Australia volunteers report plastic straws are the 12th most common item that they pick up, and at last clean-up day they picked up some 7,300 of them from our parks, picnic grounds, along our streets and on our beaches. So it's little wonder that young people in my electorate have been moved to action on this, and that it has been a topic of discussion led by young people in our schools. And that there was overwhelming demonstrated support by the community in response to the circulation of the government's single-use plastic discussion paper released in January 2019 to kick the process of change into action. It is also little wonder that the Stakeholder Task Force group established to assist with the development and implementation of this legislation, guided by public feedback its members received, that this bill before us proposes to enact the following. That is, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, that on commencement of the legislation, single-use plastic straws, cutlery and drink stirrers will be banned from sale, supply or distribution, and that 12 months from the commencement date, the distribution of expanded polystyrene cups, bowls, plates, clamshell containers and oxy-degradable plastic products will then also be prohibited. Business representatives, I am pleased to advise, offer widespread support for taking this action, and voluntary messages are already underway to reduce their use. With large corporations already on board, as cited by Clean Up Australia, with McDonald's replacing single-use plastic straws this year and Coca-Cola ceasing their distribution of plastic straws and stirrers last year, and globally that the European Union announced need for such measures back in October 2018. Two more important notes are that the South Australian business community have advised that the cost to move away from single-use plastics has not been raised as a significant issue for them. Rather, that there is widespread recognition of the potential opportunities before us for businesses and enterprise to supply a growing market for production of alternative products. And the other important point is that this well-considered legislation before us, there is an exemption making powers that will allow for the continued sale, distribution and supply of single-use plastic straws to people who require them due to disability or particular medical requirement. Importantly, the assigned task force was aware of this consideration and included it on their committee two disability representatives to ensure no adverse unforeseen impacts should arise from the implementation of the bill before us. The task force considered all impacts on business and the community and was directed to provide advice on what phase-out single-use plastic straws, cups, drink stirrers and food service items might look like. And because of this quality preparation work, I'm confident the way ahead with this bill, should it proceed, will be a smooth transition, which will also importantly assist with the necessary communication with the community and businesses to ensure South Australia is fully adapted or updated on how these new laws will apply to them and will be regulated. As stated by the Minister when he launched the Turning the Tide on Single-Use Plastic Products discussion paper on January 13 last year, this government is keen to keep South Australia at the forefront of these areas and to maintain this position while also increasing economic activity. Plastic is a valuable material integral to modern life, but when littered, it ruins our environment's pristine image and harms marine and terrestrial life. The community is ready to take this immediate local action on items that are designed and intended for disposal after a single use, are prone to being littered, are unlikely to be recycled, and for which more sustainable alternatives are available. South Australia has been a leader in litter reduction and resource recovery for many years, and it is clear from the more than 3,500 submissions to that first discussion paper that there is significant community and industry support for the intent and measures addressed in this bill. And with nearly 97% of those 3,500 submissions specifically supporting government intervention, it is clear that the community wants swift action on this. So we're starting first with banning plastic straws and cutlery and stirrers, and next we will soon move on to our takeaway polystyrene containers and cups. This government, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, is committed to ensuring that this state maintains its reputation as a leader in waste management, and this bill befits that pledge. I wholeheartedly, on the behalf of Narungga constituents, young and older, commend this important bill to the House and look forward to its speedy passage through the other place.
The member for Newland.